Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Labrat. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. As you can already tell, we're running around with a hazmat suit, and for those of you who know a bit about the game, you have probably got a pretty good idea of what we're going to do here. So, as you know, the radiation suit, the hazmat suits, and in this occasion the prototype hazmat suit, they work like full body armor, meaning that if you equip them, you can't wear any different armor at all. So what this means, by the way, this includes under armor, is that we are going to have 1000 red resistance, I think it is. But we have no damage resistance and no energy resistance. So while we could get quite an amount of energy and damage resistance from perks, we deliberately stay at this state with 0 DR and ER in order to make use of the berserkers effect. So I did show off another berserkers character in the past. And what I did there was something that you will see most time when people go for a berserker's approach. So what people are doing is that they deliberately use broken armor pieces. So you can't equip them, but if an armor piece breaks on your character while you're wearing it and you're not unequipping it, it stays there. So meaning that you don't have any damage or energy resistance from the armor piece, but you still get the legendary effects. And since a lot of the legendary effects in the game are quite powerful, you can still get very efficient characters if you're using broken armor. So on top of that, 50% extra damage from the berserkers effect can be very potent. However, this isn't exactly true to the idea of a berserker's character. So I mean, you're still running around with armor. By the way, this is something where I just had to be a bit quiet for a moment, simply because I had to concentrate. I was really in fear that this guy here would... Alright, yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, this is, as you can see, we're quite flimsy. We are an actual glass cannon, in a sense. So you could completely avoid something like this if you took your time to use rank 3 of fireproof. I only have rank 2, I think. There's no real reason why you shouldn't use rank 3. I didn't have the points and went for something else which I thought would work very well, which was using ghoulish, because my theory was that the ghoulish perk, which gives you heals off some of your health when you are affected by radiation, I thought that it would work like this, that it only needs you to be affected by radiation in order to heal you, and that it didn't have anything to do with the amount of radiation you're taking. But sadly that's not the case, because as you can see here, if we're shooting the ground, the area of effect damage, it does hurt us a little, but we're still not getting... I think we're getting 1 radiation each, it's telling us. So I figured we could turn this weapon effectively into a vampire's weapon with that perk. But anyways, we do have it active, if I don't remember, if I remember correctly here. But as you saw here, it doesn't work like I hoped, and therefore there should be room for rank 3 of fireproof. So I just have to make room really quick in order to be not over encumbered anymore. I really hope we have some... The railway spikes. What the fuck? Why do we have 1000 railway spikes on our character? That's ridiculous. So, as you saw here though, I did talk a lot about negatives of the build already, but even though we're not using legendary armor, we still are very efficient when it comes to stealth. So we're not comparable to someone running with a full set of chameleon or unyielding armor, obviously. But using the chameleon mutation and the fact that we have no armor on and are pretty light, we do have quite a lot of agility, and on top of that we use all the sneak perks. We don't have all that much of a trouble, so we can fairly easily stay in stealth, even in close quarters. The only times when we really get into caution is when we're getting overrun. So how stealth works in this game is that enemies, even though they don't know where you are, so when you are in caution, they still have a slight idea of where you are, meaning that they shoot in your slight direction and slowly come nearer. So sooner or later, if you can keep up with killing them, so this could happen in West Tech, for example, or where it could happen pretty easily is at the golf course, the White Spring Golf Course. They sooner or later are going to run into you if you can take them out fast enough, and that's something you have to take a look on. But other than that, you're having quite a lot of DPS, so we're going to see that. I'm probably going to take on a Scorch Beast later on, and even that will fall pretty fast. So overall, this was one of the characters where I thought I'm going to have a hard time playing it, and I was kind of surprised how well I'm doing with it. So just to summarize all of it, the gamma gun we're using, it has 3 main downsides in my opinion. So the first downside is that you can damage yourself pretty easily with the radiation damage. So we are using a hazmat suit, so you don't see that, but I'm probably going to show that off later when I unequip the hazmat suit. The thing is that the splash damage from this weapon deals 125 reds, I think, which is a lot. So that's enough to probably one-hit kill yourself if you're a bloodied character, or due to our high fire rate, we can also kill ourselves with a full health character in a single round, so round of our magazine. So that's a big downside, but obviously, due to this, the fact that we are using a hazmat suit, this downside isn't a problem for us. You saw it earlier. If we're... Yeah, I do so much hate these small reds. I mean, I like their ability to burrow underneath, but this shit is ridiculous. They should work like this on the ground, but I do really hate that they are just able to teleport on roofs and such. Anyways, back to the topic. So the downside, I already told you, absolutely doesn't worry us, simply because we're getting what, 1 or 2 reds. It's not a problem at all, and most of the time enemies keep their distance, or we keep them at distance, to say better. So that's not a problem. The other 2 downsides are your condition bar, which I'm going to show you here, as well as the ammo consumption. So the weapon chews through ammo a lot. There is options. You can use this weapon differently if you're using a signal repeater is the mod we're having equipped at the moment. And then there's another option which is called the carrier antenna or something like that. Anyways, it's a charging barrel, so to speak. So you can charge your shots and get a bit of extra electrical damage. If you use that mod, you definitely go through a lot less ammo, but in my opinion it's nicer to have the extra DPS from the signal repeater. So it's something I touched on in other videos already, but it's actually pretty crazy. We're still using the gunslinger perks, meaning that we're using semi-automatic weapons usually, but in this case we're benefiting from the perk, but we have a full automatic weapon. It's quite crazy actually, and I'm not sure if it's intended or something, but I never seen a mention of Bethesda about the topic or that they're going to change it or anything. So it's fair to assume that this will stay like it, at least for the near future. So as you can see here, we're also having quite good range. Not a hit scan projectile, but if we get our hits in, we can do significant damage. For some reason, yeah, those are the level 100 guys. So as you can see here, we're still in caution, and that's something I wanted to talk about too. It's very surprising because you know, you shoot those big fat green bulks of radiation through the air, and it doesn't look like you should be all that stealthy with this character, but for some reason the gamma gun seems to be as good as completely silent. So as I mentioned earlier, we're not even a super stealthy character, so we invested quite a lot into stealth, but the fact that we're not using any legendary effects or something should pretty much make us no god at stealth or anything. So if we were using anything that's not silenced, you'd see pretty quickly how we're getting detected all the time. But surprisingly enough, that's all I wanted to say, the gamma gun seems to be a silent weapon and therefore is perfectly capable of stealth attacks. So this skyrockets the ability of this weapon, in my opinion, because it's something that the gunslinger class severely lacks, simply because, alright, now we are in danger. But alright. So just need to get some headshots in. By the way, using this in non-full auto but in smaller bursts is the way to go, in my opinion, or from my experience to say, in order to save condition and ammo, and for some reason you seem to be more effective too. So, well, back to the topic. The gunslingers suffer from a lot of downsides to the whole class. So they don't have a lot of base damage. They can't make up for their lack of base damage because they have not a lot of options when it comes to stealth. And even if you use a weapon that can be silenced, you still have the problem that a lot of the sneak perks are in agility, where the damage perks of your weapon lie. So yeah, the class is simply not liked all that much. But yeah, in my opinion, the gamma gun is one of the best options you have with this character. You have a actually very high base damage, so I'm not sure if there is a lot of enemies that a lot of pistols that can keep up with the base damage of the gamma gun. So what comes to mind would be the Western revolver. I'm fairly sure that that would have similar damage, but then again, we do have a full automatic mode for this weapon, as well as a nah, we're not doing it. As well as the option to go for a stealth character. So while I get that it's up to personal preference with this weapon, simply because I get that a lot of people may not like it, but okay, two of them, well, that will be fun. So yeah, sure. So sadly we're not saved by our hazmat suit when it comes to poison damage, which would be a neat little benefit to the weapon, in my opinion, to the suit. But yeah, now as you can see here, there's still situations where we can definitely get into danger. After all, we are a berserkers character, and this is not a character I would recommend for you if you want a powerhouse that's unkillable. So what this build has it going for it is that it's quite simple. So the equipment is very cheap, actually. So a hazmat suit is you can obtain that pretty easily everywhere around the map. When it comes to the prototype hazmat suit, I heard contradictory statements about whether or not it's a legacy item at the moment, but you should get hands on it. It's not that hard to get, and after all, it's just visual changes compared to... Yeah, for some reason our stealth is pretty fucked at the moment, so this is something that happens from time to time. So most of the time we're doing very well with our stealth, but sometimes it just won't work anymore, so that's something to keep in mind. And back to the equipment, the gamma gun itself, well, if you go for a quad faster fire rate gamma gun, for example, you can expect to pay a hefty price, but the weapon I'm using at the moment, this should be no big deal at all. Like, it's a Berserkers one with bash damage, I think, so effectively it's a 1-star. One thing you can do in order to improve your build is to use multiple different gamma guns. So that's a... Oh wow, the game is... the Flying Falcon. So I'm using multiple gamma guns on this character here, ranging from anti-armor ones to vampire ones. So simply because the condition is quite bad, you can easily use multiple of these weapons. They are not heavy to carry, and if you could get multiple with the same prefix, that would be perfect. So damn, man. So as you can see here, we can even do significant damage to the Scorch Beast if they are in the air, even though they were bugged as hell. So yeah, that's that. We draw off quite far, by the way. This wasn't part of the plan, but well, now that we are here, let's do it. Ideally, we did show off super mutants, so well, that's a pretty perfect run in that occasion, because we were able to show off pretty much every enemy type. So now that we even have Mirelurks here, especially the Mirelurk King over there, this should give you a pretty good example of how things are going. So one thing you obviously did notice already is yeah, stay in stealth and everything's fine. So as soon as you're getting out of stealth, you're running into problems. The reload time, by the way, is pretty long, so if you manage to get hands on a version with faster reload, that would be nice. And after all, what I wanted to say with this build is that obviously we're putting ourselves into a big disadvantage here using a Berserker's character. So even though I said that one of the big negatives is that you can give yourself radiation damage pretty easily, it's not that big of a deal at all. So I mean, it just happens when you're crowded and shoot something directly in front of you. So it's similar to using legacy weapons or something. I mean, everyone who did that in the past should know that this doesn't mean you can't use those weapons. So you just have to be a bit careful or something, and if you're willing to be careful and take that risk, you can easily pull this build off with chameleon gear or something, which should significantly improve your stealth ability, and also gives you access to a lot of legendary perks, legendary effects on your armor. So you can have a better AP refresh, or Sentinel or Cavalier or something. So that's something to consider. I just wanted to show off this character simply because it had some role-playing value to it, and I wanted to combine multiple things that you just don't see it all when playing the game. So you never see someone running around in a hazmat suit, even if you are in a radiation zone, in the nuke zone. you probably see people either using the power armor or the Chinese stealth armor. So that's another point. The Chinese stealth armor, obviously you can use this exact character I'm using at the moment and just use this Chinese stealth armor and you'd be way better off. You just need another weapon, so you're not using a berserkers one but an anti-armor one or something, and you would do very well. I wanted to show off the weakest version of this build pretty much. That's what I wanted to do, simply because I think that the Gamma Gun is an actually very underrated weapon, and I just want to show what it's capable of. So obviously if you're using a bloodied one or something, you can do a crazy amount of damage, but yeah, you can kill yourself pretty easily. The best all-rounder in my opinion is the quad version. It's ridiculously good. I do have one in my stash, but I didn't want to use it because, as I told you, I'm using Berserker's character here. And as you can see here, even if we are not in caution, we can do a lot of damage. Another thing I wanted to say about this character is we do use some legendary perks here. Alright, as you can see, we got melted. Most notably follow through, which helps us a lot as long as we are in stealth. So the other ones are boosts to our special stats mainly. So I think we do have 2 extra luck and a bit of extra perception. I think it's 2 either. So keep that in mind, but I will show you later on that in both of these trees there are perks we're not making use of really. So I do have Grenadier in perception, which you could just dish out if you don't want to use the legendary perks. And for luck, I do use luck of the draw simply to help me a little bit with the condition of our weapons, but in my experience it didn't really help all that much, so you can definitely live without it. And you are no, you're not the motherfucker with the flamer barrel. So where is he? As you can see here, by the way, we're jumping in and out of danger. As I told you, there's hours where you don't get detected at all, and then there's these playtimes where you just can't effectively stay in stealth. So I'm not sure what exactly is up there, but yeah, after all, I mean, it's still not a completely silenced weapon, but it's just surprisingly silenced. That's what I wanted to say with this weapon. So another thing that I was worried about when it came to the Gamma Gun was that due to the way that it doesn't have hit-stun projectiles and the radiation bursts need a bit of travel time, so to speak, I figured that the weapon would be very inconsistent in VATS. But surprisingly enough, that's not the case. It doesn't suffer from the same bugs like the Gauss weapons, for example. So yeah, it's working fine in VATS. You can make a complete VATS build around it, in my opinion. I just a little bit deliberately choose not to do that, simply because the last gunslinger that I shown off was a VATS-centered one, and I wanted to give kind of an approach for a free aim character. So obviously we're using VATS here and there, especially if we want to shoot through windows and such, but you can completely leave out VATS out of your playstyle if you wish with this weapon. It's powerful enough. Aiming down sights is fun. This character is one I'd really recommend playing in first person, by the way, simply because I do just love the Gamma Gun, how it looks and feels. So even the reload animation is very cool. So all the electric sparkly thing going on, I just love the weapon. I love the weapon design. It's something that really fits the Fallout universe in my opinion. Wow, that took me a while here. Alright, not fall to death. So yeah, overall there's not a lot to say. You pretty much saw what I was talking about. The weapon can deal a lot of damage. The playstyle isn't bad or anything. You are a glass cannon though, so you don't want to get detected, and after all, this is a build that involves some thought if you approach situations, so you don't want to just rush everywhere. However, I feel like if you're using a vampire's weapon, you can pull that off. The base damage of the weapon is harsh enough, so you can you don't have to rely on damage boosting perks. But well, anyways, so this is it for the gameplay. We're now going to take a look at our equipment and our perks. So first thing I want to show off is our mutations here. We have multiple. We have Bird Bones, Chameleon, Eagle Eyes, Marsupial, Speed Demon, and Unstable Isotope. So Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Marsupial, Speed Demon, those are all pretty generic. You see them on a lot of builds. Give us extra agility, extra perception, a bit more crit damage, which we're not going to utilize all that much, but it's nice to have. We're mainly interested in the extra perception. So Marsupial gives us this jump height, which is the main selling point. I mean, extra carry weight is always nice, but having this bigger jumps is cool. Speed Demon, faster reload and faster movement speed. In this occasion we use the faster movement speed, the faster reload mainly. And Unstable Isotope is just here for a bit of role playing. It is a leftover, but on this case it felt quite cool to have this radiation bursts around you every once in a while if you get detected. I mean, you want to avoid it at all costs, but well. So onto our equipment. As I told you earlier, we do have this here Berserker Gamma Gun. So you can see we ran through, yeah, pretty much half a condition bar here during this fight. But keep in mind, we fought a lot of enemies here, and it's not as bad as I make it seem. So you can definitely pull it off, especially if you're getting 2 or 3 weapons. You can play for easily an hour or 2 before you have to repair your weapon, and it really, yeah, it's worth it to me personally. It's something to burn a lot of resources on one of your alt accounts, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. So other noteworthy things, I do have an anti-armor gamma gun on me, which performs pretty similarly in terms of damage. I didn't use it. I just carried as a backup if my other one breaks. Okay, this is just some stuff I looted from enemies. I do have some grenades on me. We're not exactly spec'd into grenades, but they do benefit from the Berserkers effect when we have the weapon equipped. So they are still pretty powerful, especially with a sneak attack. And well, I forgot to show that off, but it's pretty obvious. So this is all our equipment when it comes to our armor. It's level 1 prototype hazmat suit. So what I said earlier with the contradictory information about it, for those of you who don't know, the prototype hazmat suit could be found in Emmett Mountain disposal site in a shelf somewhere where the lockers were, and you just went there. It was always there, and since the Radiation Rumble event took place, the Emmett Mountain disposal site is now inhabited by the Emmett Mountain something. These guys with the hazmat suits that lead the Radiation Rumble event, basically. And for some reason, if you go there now, there is a standard or even a damaged hazmat suit in the lockers where this one was. So I'm not quite sure if you can still legitimately get this item in game. It's only aesthetically different. It has, yeah, it has full gloves and is yellow instead of orange. I think that's about all the differences. So anyways, on to the perks. Strength 5 with Traveling Pharmacy and Bandolier, nothing out of the ordinary here. Do whatever you like. If you can go lower, go lower. It's just for some convenience and carry weight perks. What should I say here? So Tank Killer, Perception. What we really want to have is Tank Killer, Crack Shot, and Concentrated Fire. So even though we're not using that all the time, if we do, Concentrated Fire is nice to have, and we want some perception anyways, so fill it with all the perks that could benefit you. Tank Killer and Crack Shot are a must-have, so As I said, the weapon is surprisingly fun to use at over range, especially against ghouls or weaker enemies like Scorched and such. So Crackshot is a good chance, and Tank Killer nowadays affects pistols too. So armor penetration is no big thought process here. You want armor penetration; it's extra damage, and the stagger chance is also nice, especially with our fire rate. So this is what I said earlier. I think let's take a look at that first. Legendary Intelligence 1, Endurance 1, Perception 2, and Luck 2. So 2 less Perception would pretty much not use Fire in the Hole, and Grenadier. Those are just filler perks. Endurance, well, as I said earlier, Ghoulish doesn't work for us. So what you want to do is you have 1 less endurance here. You have 6 endurance, so you use Adamantium Skeleton and Fireproof rank 3. I'm just chucking on Life Giver here, but yeah, I'm going to upgrade that to Fireproof rank 3. Charisma, Lone Wanderer, the standard setup for Charisma, well, you know the thrill by now. Intelligence, this is something you don't actually need a lot of points here. I just wanted to be a bit more intelligent with this character simply because it fits the whole energy weapons feel a bit. First Aid, this one I think is a good idea on this character because as you saw, if you are in trouble you get a lot of damage really quickly, so usually you have enough time to take a stim pack, but you're already down to like 30% of your health at that point. And having more effective stim packs is a good choice here. So batteries included, well, the gamma rounds don't weigh a lot, but if you wanna mass craft them, and trust me, you're burning through a lot of them, you want to carry a lot of them, batteries included is a good choice. And Gunsmith, well, I told you like 3 times during the video that one of the negatives of this build is that the weapon condition goes down rapidly, so Gunsmith is a no-brainer here. Onto agility, so this is quite packed. Basically what we want is Gunslinger, Expert Gunslinger, Sneak, Escape Artist, Covered Operative. This is I mean, you don't want Through Hiker here, so what you want to have is another 2 ranks of Gunslinger to boost your damage. As you saw, we're not having a big trouble with damage, but more is always nice. So I just couldn't afford to go lower than rank 2 and Through Hiker, otherwise I couldn't move. But if you wanna create this character, you should definitely not use Through Hiker. Get yourself the mod for your backpack that reduces food weight. That's what I'm going to do. I'm working on it at the moment, but yeah, otherwise it's pretty straightforward. You want the Gunslinger perks, and Sneak, Escape Artist are essential here. Covered Operative gives us more damage, so arguably I could have gone for Gunslinger instead of Covered Operative to give me a more overall damage, but I felt like the more sneak attack damage is way more beneficial, and I'm pretty sure that was the sensible decision here. And onto luck, Bloody Mass, Luck of the Draw, Class Freak, and Starch Jeans. So Starch Jeans and Bloody Mass are, yeah, we need those perks. The other 2 are, well, Luck of the Draw, I said it during the video, I'm not sure how big of a benefit it is to us, but it is a slight benefit, and therefore I put it in here. We're not really using wets all that much, so there's not a lot that could benefit us otherwise. One thing you could do with luck is really invest into survivability with Ricochet or Serendipity, but I felt like we really want to stay in stealth, avoid to get hit, and if we get detected, well, we did a mistake and therefore we have to suffer. So, well, Class Freak is just here because we had it. So this is, as you said earlier, saw earlier, we have 1 legendary luck. So just leave out Class Freak. It's not going to damage us in any significant way. It's just more debuffs to our strength mainly. So which is already down at the bottom. So actually Class Freak isn't really a big benefit here. Yeah, as I said earlier, we do have legendary intelligence one. You could argue that either first aid, batteries included, or gunsmith could, yeah, you could live with one rank less of any of those. So that's the build. I hope you enjoyed the video. So I'm pretty glad how this character turned out, honestly. This was one of those more wacky characters which I didn't really expect a lot when I went into it, but I was really satisfied, and I feel like this is a basis for a really good character, and I decided to work on it to make a real endgame character out of it. So if I had to take my opinion on it, this is actually one of the most powerful gunslinger builds I ever had so far. I mean, it doesn't have the feel of a real gunslinger, so that if you want a gunslinger in order to use some western revolver or something, this is obviously nothing for you, but it's definitely something that feels quite unique when you play it. Well, anyways, that's my 2 cents on the build, and yeah, as I said, I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time, guys. Bye.